Land finance collapse, the CCP era of money grabbing begins. China economic dilemma, the disconnect between real public livelihood and official data. China's epidemic spreads, hospitals report underlying conditions. First quarter of this year, 350,000 CCP officials investigated, 3 times last year's figure. Beijing deletes EV overproduction data amid overcapacity dispute with US. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Land finance collapse, the CCP era of money grabbing begins. On his April 26 program, Qin Observation, political commentator Qin offered noteworthy insights into the collapse of land finance, the beginning of the CCP's era of money grabbing. Let's delve into his analysis. According to Mr. Qin, the Chinese government, the very architect of the real estate boom, is now its biggest victim as the market crumbles. Since 1998, the commercialization of housing, the tax-sharing system, and the growth of local financial platforms have addicted authorities to what could be called land finance addiction, selling land, pouring money into massive infrastructure projects, pumping up GDP, and reaping huge profits only to spend them extravagantly. But this era is ending. Ministry of Finance data reveals that after peaking at 8.7 trillion yuan, about $1.23 trillion in 2021, land transfer revenues dropped to approximately 6.7 trillion yuan, about $944 billion in 2022, and slid further to about 5.8 trillion yuan, approximately $817.2 billion in 2023, a loss of nearly 3 trillion yuan, about $423 billion in just 2 years, a third of its value. The situation is worsening rapidly in 2024. Recent data shows that land transfer revenue in the first quarter was 81.47 billion yuan, about $11.5 billion, a 6.7% drop compared to the same period last year. Notably, March saw a 21% decrease compared to the previous quarter. Yet, the situation is grimmer than it appears. Lauman, a Chinese finance data analyst, has shown that since 2022, local urban investment companies, essentially the local governments themselves, have become the primary land purchasers. In 2022, these companies accounted for about 40% of land purchases, rising to 60% in 2023. And hitting 70% in the first quarter of 2024. These entities often use the land as collateral for bank loans, effectively creating more local government debt. This amplifies the scale of local debt, setting up a bubble that's sure to burst and will likely damage the entire Chinese banking system. We've previously reported on the problems with China's wealth management and trust industries. With 70% of Chinese banking assets tied up in real estate, the scale of this crisis is staggering. The real estate sector's collapse will undoubtedly lead to severe repercussions. Last year and in this year's first quarter, China's real GDP actually contracted, with official fiscal revenues and tax receipts also falling. However, there's been a startling rise in one area. Non-tax revenue jumped by 10.1% to 117.05 billion yuan year-on-year, about $16.5 billion. This category, comprising various arbitrary charges and fines, effectively means each of the 1.4 billion Chinese people has been fined an average of 700 yuan, nearly $99, or 2,100 yuan per family of 3, about $296. This unveils a harsh reality. Recently, the erratic readings of the new 4 meters, gas, electricity, water, oil, suggestions from the Finance Bureau to the traffic police to fully leverage their initiative to achieve revenue goals, and the Deputy Secretary's bizarre charges and fines are not mere anomalies. All of this marks the onset of an era of comprehensive money grabbing by the CCP, desperate for funds. In recent years, the regime's non-tax revenue has been surging, a clear sign of unabashed robbery. What's changed now is the regime's growing audacity. This shift in focus from serving the people to serving the grand scheme over the past couple of years underscores a chilling truth: all can be sacrificed for the continuation of CCP rule and the leader's throne. This recklessness brings to mind the final days of the Qing dynasty, riddled with internal and external challenges, as well as the resentment from the public. The Qing government, however, remained indifferent, relying on its military might. And what was the outcome of that? The Wuchang Uprising on October 10, 1911, which quickly spread throughout the country, leading to the abdication of the last emperor, Puyi, in 1912, ending approximately 268 years of the last imperial dynasty of China. China economic dilemma, the disconnect between real public livelihood and official data. Recent data from China's National Bureau of Statistics shows a 5.3% year-on-year increase in GDP for the first quarter, which officials are hailing as a sign of the economy's steady recovery. However, this optimistic government narrative is sharply contradicted by feedback from various sectors and regions across the mainland, painting a very different picture of the economic reality. In detail, Zhejiang, known as the fastest-growing province on the mainland, which has now nearly collapsed. Mr. Liu, who runs an advertising firm in Zhejiang, lamented, "It's absolutely abysmal. We used to pull in 5 million a year, earning millions annually around 2015 and 2016. This year, we've made absolutely nothing." Due to the economic slump, many companies have been forced to slash budgets severely to stay afloat, leading to numerous bankruptcies among small and medium enterprises and a devastating impact on the advertising sector due to a massive loss of clients. Mr. Liu said that the advertising industry in Zhejiang is finished. All the businesses are just scrambling to survive. Meanwhile in Beijing, convenience store owner Mr. Wang spends his days looking out at deserted streets and an empty shop. He said, "There's no work in the city. If you're jobless, you can't just hang around, can you? Everyone is headed back to the rural areas. People keep asking, where has everyone gone?" Outside of commuting hours, Beijing is like a ghost town. He also mentioned that numerous brick-and-mortar stores have shut down over the past 2 years, leaving formerly sought-after retail spaces unoccupied. The economic downturn has led to a depression that's pervasive throughout the mainland. Even in Beijing's less central areas, you can't rent out street-level shops anymore. The economic downturn has severely impacted the agricultural sector as well. Bait, a herder from Inner Mongolia, shared with NTD-TV that the high costs of breeding, coupled with falling meat prices, have put nearly all farmers in the red. Despite official reports of growth in livestock production, herders and farmers argue that the reality starkly contradicts the government's claims. Mr. Wu, a feed salesman from Zhejiang, noted that the economic woes are widespread across the mainland, affecting every region and sector, and not just isolated cases. He commented, "Thinking of switching industries? It's not that easy. We've considered it, and so have those from other sectors wanting to join ours. With our current authoritarian regime, everything is on a downward trajectory." Many individuals interviewed shared that the harsh realities of their daily lives and the struggles to sustain their businesses have left them deeply pessimistic and hopeless about the economic future. They feel that no matter how positive the official statistics might appear, they are irrelevant if they don't alleviate the real struggles people are facing. China's epidemic spreads, hospitals report underlying conditions. The COVID-19 pandemic continues in China, with numerous reports suggesting that many elderly people have died recently, but hospitals are covering up these deaths by attributing them to pre-existing conditions. Mr. Chen from Hunan revealed to NTD-TV reporters that many elderly died this winter, with crematoriums operating continuously, and all deaths being officially reported as due to underlying health issues. Similar accounts were shared by Mr. Li from Liaoning and Mr. Luo from Yan'an, who noted significant elderly deaths and suggested that widespread acceptance of official narratives may cloud public perception. Additionally, Mr. Zhang from Hegang observed an increase in respiratory symptoms among locals and noted an unusual shift from bustling malls to busy hospitals and crematoriums. First quarter of this year, 350,000 CCP officials investigated, 3 times last year's figure. The Chinese Communist Party, frequently described by international observers as the world's largest corrupt party, continues to validate this reputation through its own anti-corruption reports. The first quarter of 2024 saw an aggressive increase in disciplinary actions with over 350,000 officials investigated, triple the number from the same period last year. This surge included 16 provincial and ministerial level officials and 983 at the bureau and department levels. On April 24, the CCP's Central Commission for Discipline Inspection released its quarterly figures, revealing that it received 212,000 allegations of misconduct. The Commission initiated 149,000 cases involving officials at various levels, including 6,695 county officials and 21,000 township officials. Additionally, 13,000 current or former village party branch secretaries and village committee chairs were implicated. In total, 121,000 individuals were disciplined, with infractions ranging from minor offenses to more severe breaches. The report also highlighted that in the first quarter alone, 356,000 individuals were processed, which included 4,894 cases of bribery, with 911 being referred to prosecutorial authorities. This marked a notable increase compared to the previous year, where only 111,000 officials were processed, including a smaller cadre of senior officials. This continuous exposure of corruption, including daily reports such as the investigations into high-profile figures like Chen Liping, former deputy director of the Guizhou Provincial Committee Office, and Zhang Yulong, former Secretary General of the Kiangsan and Prefecture Committee in Guizhou, underscores the systemic corruption issues within the party. The January report from the Commission noted that in the entirety of 2023, they handled 1.718 million cases, which further illustrates the endemic nature of corruption, affecting nearly every level of governance within the CCP. Since the CCP's 18th National Congress in 2012, Xi Jinping's government has initiated an extensive anti-corruption drive. This campaign has led to the prosecution of high-ranking officials, including members of the Military Commission and the Politburo, with significant figures like Zhou Yongkang being imprisoned, which was previously unheard of within the party's top echelons. However, according to the 9 commentaries on the Communist Party, a publication first published in November 2004 in Chinese by the New York-based Epoch Times, this anti-corruption effort is less about genuine reform and more about maintaining the party's image. The CCP, portrayed as the world's premier corruption party, uses these high-profile purges to placate public demand for accountability without truly risking its control. The primary goal remains preserving the party's power and preventing its collapse, not necessarily rooting out corruption systematically. Beijing deletes EV overproduction data amid overcapacity dispute with U.S. The Chinese Communist Party has deleted overproduction information on China's new energy cars from its official website. It comes as both the United States and the European Union have raised serious concerns over China's industrial overcapacity and dumping of goods in the West. China observers believe that the government subsidies have caused vicious competition, which harms both the Chinese domestic economy as well as the economies of other countries. The Price Monitoring Center of China's National Development and Reform Commission reported that prices for new energy vehicles in Shenzhen have decreased between 5% to 10% since the start of the year. The most significant price reduction was observed in the BYD Song Plus new energy model, which fell by 9.69% from 154,800 yuan, about $21,000, to 139,800 yuan, about $19,000. The center attributed the price decline primarily to an oversupply in the market, lower battery costs, increased production efficiencies, and overall industry chain advantages. Despite this, the data was pulled from the website as of April 26, although it was widely reported by both international and Chinese media, noting an intensifying price war in the electric vehicle sector due to this oversupply. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on April 25 that the United States is not taking any options off the table to respond to China's excess industrial capacity. Ms. Yellen has repeatedly warned China about overcapacity. During her visit to Beijing in early April, she emphasized that she was particularly concerned about China flooding global markets with electric vehicles, EVs, solar panels, and other new energy goods, which is the result of China's long-term macroeconomic imbalances. The imbalances are between weak household consumption and excessive corporate investment. Ms. Yellen said that Beijing's massive support for specific industrial sectors has exacerbated the imbalances and threatens jobs and businesses in the United States and other countries. The German chancellor also raised the issue during his visit to China earlier this month. In response, Chinese Premier Li Qiang denied China's overcapacity at a press conference on April 16, saying that both supply and demand are global and that China's new energy industry advantages are not formed by government subsidies for industries. The Chinese Foreign Ministry also condemned the U.S. accusation on April 23, saying it's the malicious intention of curbing and suppressing China's industrial development, aiming to seek a more favorable competitive position and market advantage. Observers like Sun Guoxiang, an associate professor at the University of Nanhua in Taiwan, said that China's EV manufacturers have benefited from Beijing's new energy points policy, which is part of the disguised government subsidies that fuel China's current overcapacity in the new energy industry. The Chinese regime is dumping 3 new green products around the world: solar panels, EVs, and lithium batteries to boost the economy, under the slogan of developing new productive forces, which has alarmed the EU and the United States. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.